Greetings, my fellow from Southern thinkers. This is L3 Reviews, a podcast. My name is Craig Transmitting from the beautiful Swampy Mango, South Florida, and today's date, Wednesday, November 14th, 2011. So let us begin. Welcome again, my friends. Thanks for tuning in. And just, I'm gonna be relaxed a little bit. It'll be pretty brief. I'm at Stash 109 Southwest 2nd Avenue in the heart of the Hemisphere District of Fort Lauderdale, adjacent with Revolution Live and America's Backyard. If something really catches my eye when I see politicians want the red flag firearm laws, a form of asset forfeiture, guilty until proven innocent. Same old song and dance. They add that to the SB 726, the School Safety Act for Florida, and that particular language, including the age limit, 3-day waiting period on rifles, because it was 18 and went to 21. Totally unconstitutional, because it does breach Article 1, Section 8 and 9, which is due process of our state constitution. But these so-called lawmakers believe they're smarter than everybody else. Hey, we got more people coming in. They're just a bunch of illiterates. Well, those individuals are nothing more than treasonous wussies. Wusses, okay? So, that would be my title. Red flag gun laws are for treasonous wusses. Because people have to learn from the past, and they haven't. So much information is out there. They don't want to grasp it. They'd rather hear it from the bobbleheads. Call underdog to save the day. The sweet pie purebred syndrome, I call it. You should folks go on YouTube and look up underdog and understand where I'm coming from. It only works in cartoons, not the real world. Of course, Amnesty International believes in tougher firearm laws because what happened at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. But they did a show on that pertaining on why that particular congregation, that includes Rabbi Meyer, are contradicting their creed. Plenty of merit, plenty of facts. That's what I go for, my friends. Not just hot air propaganda. So I'm going to be addressing this from the Rutherford Institute. John Whitehead wrote it, which I received my card yesterday. I am a proud supporting member of this organization. Because what's been happening, the American Civil Liberties Union are starting to dilute themselves, especially since Charlottesville. Now they're afraid to represent anyone if it's considered controversial. Remember what James Madison say about the First Amendment? It protects the minority over the majority. That's how I have to look at it. All of our Bill of Rights, and even Declaration of Rights. Because so you got your state constitutions, they have Declaration of Rights and Bill of Rights. Natural law. Your natural born rights are considered inalienable. We got that in Florida, Article 1, Section 2, entitled Basic Rights. Alright, so it'll be mainly, I'm going to narrate this article from him. And he does hit it on the head, so I always give him respect, and he is involved with the newsbuds.org, Newsbuds Network. He does his videos on there as well. And I recommend everyone out there to subscribe and check his videos. So it came out yesterday. It says here, red flag laws, yet another government weapon for compliance and control. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. George Santayana. We never learn. In the right or wrong hands, malevolent plans can be easily be put to malevolent purposes. Even the most well-intentioned government law or program can be and has been perverted, corrupted, and used to advance illegitimate purposes once profit and power are added to the equation. The war on terror, the war on drugs, the war on illegal immigration, asset forfeiture schemes, road safety schemes, school safety schemes, eminent domain, all these programs started out as legitimate responses to pressing concerns and have since become weapons of compliance and control in the police state's hands. Mark my words, red flag gun laws, which allow police to remove guns from people suspected of being threats, will only add to the government's power. These laws grow in popularity as a legislative means by which to seize guns from individuals viewed as dangerous to themselves or others are yet another Trojan horse, a stealth maneuver by the police state to gain greater power over an unsuspecting and largely gullible populace. 13 states now have red flag laws on the books. That number is growing. As the Washington Post reports, these laws allow family member, roommate, view, law enforcement officer, or any type of medical professional to file a petition with the court asking that person's home be temporarily cleared of firearms. It doesn't require a mental health diagnosis or an arrest. Can we say treason? That's right. All these people that want to make these little calls are less of a man, less patriotic than Benedict Arnold. Prove me wrong, folks, if you dare. I dare you to challenge me on this. In the midst of what feels like an epidemic of mass shootings, these gun confiscation laws, extreme risk protection orders, or ERPO laws may appease the fears of those who believe that fewer guns in the hands of the general populace will make our society safer. Of course, it doesn't always work that way. Anything, knives, vehicles, planes, pressure cookers can become a weapon and wield it with deadly intentions. With these red flag gun laws, the intention is to arm individuals who are potential threats. So if I criticize the government, like I call Rick Scott a bender of a Bob to the one world order, is that considered a threat? Or I call Gary Farmer Jr. a treasonous wuss, is that considered a threat? I don't think so, because based on their actions, it's considered facts. We need to stop dangerous people before they act. That's the rationale behind the NRA support of these red flag laws. That's why my friends don't believe the hype. And Charlton Heston's rolling in his grave too, to be exact. Even though he made some mistakes, at least he was man enough, made a mistake on voting for the 1968 Gun Control Act. And at a first glance, it appears to be perfectly reasonable to want to disarm individuals who are clearly suicidal and or pose an immediate danger to themselves or others. Where the problem arises, of course, is when you put the power to determine who is a potential danger in the hands of government agencies, the courts, and the police. I think we should just use that in the DEA and hey, they're threatening us. Can we seize their firearms? See how they react to it. You gotta give a taste of their own medicine. Or to the judges that support these things. Or Gary Farmer, hey, he's a potential threat. Take his firearms away. Or the family members, do they like it? No. They love dishing it out, but they hate receiving. And I digress. Where the problems arise, of course, is when you put the power to determine who is a potential danger in the hands of government agencies, the courts, and the police. We've been down this road before. Remember the same government used the words anti-government, extremist, and terrorist interchangeably? It is the same government whose agents are spinning a sticky spider web of threat assessments, behavioral sensing warnings, flagged word, and suspicious activity reports, using automated eyes, ears, social media, behavior sensing software, and citizen spies to identify potential threats. Citizen spies, yes, I want to be an Uncle Tom and Aunt Jemima to the system. How astute. There's the same government that keeps re-upping the National Defense Authorization Act, which allows military to detain American citizens with no access to friends, families, or the courts if the government believes them to be a threat. You could thank your glorious former President Barack Obama on signing this before New Year's. Hallelujah. Yes, we can. This is the same government that has a growing list shared with the fusion centers and law enforcement agencies of ideologies, behaviors, affiliations, and other characteristics that could flag someone as suspicious and result in their being labeled potential enemies of the state. For instance, if you believe in exercising your rights under the Constitution, namely right to speak freely, worship freely, associate with like-minded individuals who share your political views, criticize the government, own a weapon, demand a warrant before being questioned or searched, or any other activity viewed as potentially anti-government, racist, bigoted, anarchic, or sovereign, you could be at the top of the government's terrorism watch list. There's links on here, folks. You can read it for yourselves. Moreover, the New York Times editorial warns that you may be the anti-government extremist, aka domestic terrorist, in the eyes of the police if you're afraid that the government is planning to confiscate your firearms, if you believe the economy is about to collapse and the government will soon declare martial law, or if you display an unusual number of political and or ideology bumper stickers on your car. So if you offend somebody, that's so sensitive. I'm so sensitive. This guy's a threat because he had these bumper stickers I don't like. Exactly. Let that sink in a moment. Now consider what happened in Maryland after a police officer attempted to enforce state's new red flag law, which went into effect on October 1st. They should be wearing an I love Idi Amin Dada button, or Adolf Hitler, or Joseph Stalin, or Ken Hayek. At 5 a.m. on Monday, 2 police officers showed up at 61-year-old Gary Willis' home to serve him the court order required that he surrenders his guns. Willis answered the door holding the gun. Mind you, in some states, merely answering the door holding a gun is enough to get you killed by police who have a tendency to shoot first and ask questions later. God bless governmental delegates. Willis initially set his guns aside while he spoke with police. However, when the police attempted to serve him with a gun confiscation order, Willis reportedly became irate and picked up his gun again. At that point, a struggle ensued, causing the gun to go off. Although no one was harmed, one of the cops shot and killed Willis. According to Ann Adrell, County Police Chief, the shooting was a sign that the red flag law is needed. What the police can say, what any certainty is what they prevented by killing Willis. Therein lies the dangers of these red flag laws specifically, and pre-crime laws such as these generally. This is the word that science fiction author Philip K. Dick envisioned for Minority Report, in which the government is all-seeing, all-knowing, and all-powerful, and if you dare to step out of line, dark-clad police SWAT teams will crack a few skulls to bring the populace under control. In Dick's dystopian police state, the police combine widespread surveillance, behavior prediction technology, data mining, and pre-cognitive technology to capture would-be criminals before they can do any damage pre-crime. But criminals, 1984. In Minority Report, directed by Steven Spielberg, that technology that John Anderson, chief of Department of Pre-Crime in Washington, D.C., relies on its predictive policing proves to be fallible. And there's a train coming by. That was pretty quiet. Identifying him as the next would-be criminal and targeting him for preemptive measures. Consequently, and Adderton, I said Anderson? I said Adderton. Sorry about that, folks. Finds himself not only attempting to prove his innocence, but forced to take drastic measures in order to avoid capture in a surveillance state that uses biometric data and sophisticated computer networks to track his citizens. With every passing day, the American police state moves was much closer to mirroring the fictional pre-crime prevention world of Minority Report. For instance, police in major American cities have been testing a tool that allows them to identify individuals or a group of individuals most likely to commit a crime in a given community. Those individuals are then put on notice that their movements and activities will be closely monitored and any criminal activity by them or their associates will result in harsh penalties. In other words, the burden of proof is reversed. You're guilty before you given a chance to prove you are innocent. Dig beneath the surface of this kind of the surveillance police state, however, and you will find that the real purpose of pre-crime is not safety but control. Red flag gun laws merely push us much closer towards a suspect society where everyone is potentially guilty of some crime or another and must be preemptively rendered harmless. Where many Americans go wrong is in naively assuming that you have to be doing something illegal or harmful in order to be flagged and targeted for some form of intervention or detention. In fact, the U.S. police agencies have been working to identify and manage potential extremist threats, violent or otherwise, before they can become actual threats for time somehow. In much the same way that the USA Patriot Act was used as a front to advance the surveillance state, allowing the governments to establish a far-fetching domestic spying program that turned every American, turning every American citizen into a criminal suspect. The governments and the extremism programs render otherwise lawful nonviolent activities as potential extremists. In fact, all you need to do these days to end up on a government watch list or be subject to or heightened scrutiny is to use certain trigger words like cloud, pork, and pirates, surf the internet, communicate using a cell phone, limp or stutter, drive a car, stay at a hotel, attend a political rally, express itself on social media, appear mentally ill, serve in the military, disagree with the law enforcement official, call in sick to work, purchase material at a hardware store, taking flying and or boating lessons, appear suspicious, appear confused or nervous, fidget or whistle or smell bad, be seen in public waving of a toy gun or anything remotely resembling a gun, such as a water nozzle or remote control or a walking cane, stare at a police officer, question government authority, appear to be pro-gun or pro-freedom, or generally live in the United States. Be warned, once you get such on the program watch list, whatever is a terrorist watch list, a mental health watch list, a dissident watch list, a red flag gun watch list, there is no clear way to get off. Whether or not you should be on there. You'll be tracked wherever you go. You'll be flagged as a potential threat and dealt with accordingly. There's a pre-crime on an ideological scale, and it's been a long time coming. The government has been building its pre-crime surveillance network in concert with fusion centers, of which there are 78 nationwide, with partners in the private sector and globally. Data collection agencies, behavioral scientists, corporations, social media, and community organizers, and by relying on cutting-edge technology for surveillance, facial recognition, predictive policing, biometrics, and behavioral epigenetics, in which life experiences alter one's genetic makeup. It is the police state take on desponding terrorists foreshadowed by George Orwell, Aldous Huxley, and Philip K. Dick, all rolled up in one oppressive pre-crime and pre-thought crime package. If you're not scared yet, you should be. Connect the dots. Start with the powers amazed by the government under the USA Patriot Act. Note the government's ever-broadening definition of what is considered to be an extremist. Then add in the government detention powers under the NDAA, the National Security Agency's far-reaching surveillance networks and fusion centers that collect and share surveillance data between local, state, and federal police agencies. To that, add tens of thousands of armed surveillance drones that will soon blanket American skies, facial recognition technology that will identify and track you wherever you go and whatever you do. And then two, complete the picture, toss in the real-time crime centers being deployed in cities across the country, which will be attempting to predict crimes and identify criminals before they happen based on widespread surveillance, complex mathematical algorithms, and prognostication programs. Hopefully you're starting to understand how easy we made it for the government to identify, label, target, defuse, and detain anyone its views as a potential threat for a variety of reasons that run a gamut from mental illness to having a military background to challenging authorities to just be on the government's list of persona non grata. This brings me back to those red flag laws. In short term, these gun confiscation laws may serve to temporarily delay or discourage those wishing to inflict violence on others, but it will not resolve whatever madness or hate or instability therein that causes someone to pull a trigger or launch a bomb or unleash violence on another. Nor will these laws save us from government-instigated and direct violence at the hands of the American police state, or the blowback from war-drenched, violence-imbued, profit-driven military-industrial complex, both of which remain largely overlooked and underestimated pieces of the discussion on gun violence in America. In the long term, all these gun confiscation laws will do is ensure that when the police state finally cracks down, we the people are defenseless in face of the government's arsenal of weapons. After all, the most important and most consistent time throughout the Constitution, including the Second Amendment, is the fact it is not merely an enumeration of our rights, but intended to be clear, shackles on the government's powers. Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas understood this tension well. The Constitution is not neutral, he remarked. It was designed to take the government off the backs of people. In this way, the freedoms enshrined in the Bill of Rights in their entirety stands as a bulwark against a police state. To our detriment, these rights have been steadily weakened, eroded, and undermined in recent years. Yet, without any one of them, including the Second Amendment right to own and bear arms, we are that much more vulnerable to the vagaries of the out-of-control policemen, malevolent dictators, genuflecting politicians, and overly ambitious bureaucrats. You can eliminate all of guns, but will not necessarily eliminate violence. To those same individuals sick enough to walk into an elementary school or to a movie theater and open fire using a gun can do wreck just as much havoc as homemade bombs made out of pressure cookers and a handful of knives. It is not even a question whether Americans need weapons to defend themselves against an overt threat to their safety or well-being. Although a study by Quinnipiac University economists indicates that less restrictive concealed gun carry laws save lives, while gun control can endanger lives. In fact, journalist Ken Carson, writing for Counterpunch, suggests that prohibiting Americans from owning weapons would be as dangerously ineffective as prohibition and the war on drugs. Interesting there. Remember, my friends, study the past because it's today's greatest teacher. Here's what he has to say. What gun laws will do is to take the level of police statism, lawlessness, and general social pathology up a notch in the same way prohibition and the drug war have done. I expect the war on guns to expand the volume of organized crime and to empower criminal gangs fighting over control over the black market. In exactly the same way prohibition did in the 1920s and strict gun laws have done since the 1980s. I expect it to lead to further erosion of Fourth Amendment protections against search and seizure, further militarization of local police via SWAT teams, and further expansion of the squalid empire of civil forfeiture, perjure, jailhouse snitch testimony, entrapment, plant evidence, and plea deal blackmail. Truly, the debate over gun ownership in America is really a debate over who gets to call the shots and control the game. In other words, is that the same tug-of-war what keeps playing out in every confrontation between the government and the citizenry over who gets to be the master and who is relegated to the part of the servant. The Constitution is clear on this particular point, with this multitude of prohibitions on government overreach, as author Edmund A. Opids observed in 1964. No one can read our Constitution without concluding that the people who wrote it wanted their government severely limited. The words no and not employed in restraint of government power occur 24 times in the first 7 articles of the Constitution and 22 more times in the Bill of Rights. In a nutshell, then, The Second Amendment's right to bear arms reflects not only concerns for one's personal defense, but serves as a check on the political power of ruling authorities. It represents an implicit warning against governmental encroachments on one's freedoms. The warning shots over the bow discourage any unlawful violations of our persons or property. As such, it reinforces that necessary balance in the citizen-state relationship. Certainly, dictators and past regimes have understood this principle only too well. As Adolf Hitler noted, the most foolish mistake we could possibly make would be to allow the subject races to possess arms. History shows that all conquerors who have allowed the subject races to carry arms have prepared their own downfall by doing so. It should come as no surprise then that starting in December 1935, Jews in Germany were prevented from obtaining shooting licenses because authorities believed that to allow them to do so would endanger the German population. And hopefully all you politicians that claim to be Jewish are comprehending this narration. In the late 1938, special orders were delivered barring Jews from owning firearms, with the punishment of firearms possession being 20 years in a concentration camp. The rest, as they say, is history. Yes, as I make it clear in my book, Battlefield America, The War of the American People, is a history that we should be wary of repeating. And he is absolutely correct. This is why people who support these red flag gun laws are nothing more than treasonous wussies, or wusses, cowards. They're less patriotic than Benedict Arnold. That's right. Prove me wrong to all you folks out there that believe in this tyrannical law. I dare you. I want you, all you folks out there, I want to hear your Walmart nickel and dime comments. It's not being arrogant, but in good faith. If you can't trust the government, then you should just burn your citizenship into oblivion. Because our culture, since the Declaration of Independence, July 4, 1776, if the government becomes usurped, it's the people's duties to overthrow or start a new form of government. I'm paraphrasing that from the author Thomas Jefferson. What was the message that was written by him and approved by the colonists? Never trust our new government. Never trust the government, period. And that is it. I'm going to add a video by the JPFO entitled Innocence Betrayed, which is on archive.org. I'll add that to the link so you can folks enjoy and read it, examine it for yourselves. Very powerful document that came out in 2007, and Richard W. Stevens did a quick interview of him and the late great Aaron Zellman. May his soul be forever free. Those are people I've endorsed and supported because their principles were real. Alright, if you have any questions, comments, or you send something interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum. I shall have all my social media sites and email addresses if you want to contact me. Alright? So once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.